This ABC15 Flash Briefing is sponsored by Sanderson Ford. All roads lead to Sanderson Ford.
Happy Monday to you. I'm Megan Thompson with your top stories right now from ABC15 Arizona. Ahead of the busy travel week, Southwest Airlines handed a record $140 million fine for its operational meltdown during last year's holiday travel season. The airline canceled nearly 17,000 flights and stranded more than 2 million passengers nationwide. Maybe you were one of them. The Department of Transportation says the penalty is 30 times larger than any previous fine against an airline. The country will pause to remember the life and legacy of former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor this week. The late justice died earlier this month at the age of 93 and will lie in repose at the Supreme Court today. Our Joe St. George looks back at her most significant accomplishments and what's in store in Washington this week.
In recent weeks, the country has lost a number of consequential and at times controversial individuals, from Henry Kissinger to Rosalind Carter. This week, the country again pausing to remember an icon, this time an icon of the Supreme Court, the late Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. The late justice made history even before she issued her first opinion, becoming the first woman to ever sit on the highest court in the land. Even though she was appointed by Republican President Ronald Reagan, she was anything but a guaranteed conservative vote during her nearly 25 years on the bench. From 1981 to 2006, 360 cases were decided 5-4, in which O'Connor cast a deciding vote. 114 times she wrote the majority opinion. Some of her landmark votes include preserving affirmative action in 2003, preserving many abortion protections in 1992, and confirming George W. Bush as president in 2000 after a close and contested election. While O'Connor's rulings on abortion and affirmative action have since been overturned by the current, more conservative-leaning Supreme Court, some have called her the most consequential woman in the history of American politics, especially since the country has never had a female president. With that as a backdrop, ceremonies are taking place Monday at the Supreme Court, where the public is invited to pay their respects. A funeral will take place Tuesday at the National Cathedral, a place where O'Connor regularly worshipped during her time in Washington, and a place typically reserved for the funerals of the country's most influential minds. Joe St. George, Scripps News, Washington.
Today, a major step in the race for the White House. The Arizona Secretary of State is set to hold the official candidate ballot order drawing ahead of the presidential preference primary in March. Under state law, the order candidates are printed on the ballot must be determined by random draw. It has been almost 2 weeks since Queen Creek Police provided an update on the case of Preston Lord. Friends and family gathering Sunday night. The 16-year-old was assaulted at a Queen Creek Halloween party and later died. Police say they have served dozens of search warrants and have identified multiple persons of interest, but still no arrests have been made. The housing market leaving many people priced out of home ownership. So will that change soon? NerdWallet giving us an outlook into next year. The Federal Reserve is expected to start lowering interest rates, which would help buyers, but experts say home prices are still expected to keep rising.
Buyers are really sensitive to lower mortgage rates right now. They go down a little bit, a lot of buyers rush into the market. But you're not going to see a corresponding number of people rushing to list their homes for sale. There's still going to be competition among buyers. And so that is going to keep home prices from falling.
Here in the Valley, Zillow says average home prices are dropping slightly. The average home in Phoenix is selling for $417,000. Today's the deadline for USPS Priority. If you want your gifts arriving on time, you can still use Priority Express through Wednesday. Then Thursday is the deadline for UPS Next Day Air and FedEx One Day.
Time now for that most accurate forecast. I'm meteorologist Iris Hermosillo. It was a gorgeous weekend, but it was warm yesterday. We made it all the way to 81, and today we're heading right back into the low 80s here in Phoenix, with a lot of upper 70s around the valley too. And in northern Arizona, pretty mild as well, with 50s for Flagstaff, 60s in Payson, near 70 today in Kingman. We could set a new record high for today's date too. The record currently stands at 79 degrees, set on this date back in 1950, and we're looking to break that with that high of 81 today, soaring well past what's normal for this time of year, but I'm tracking some big changes. A cool down that starts tomorrow, but really that dose of cool air arrives Friday and this weekend just as the storm system moves in. That's ramping up rain chances. They start to climb Wednesday and Thursday, but they get much better with rain likely on Friday. Some rain and snow showers across northern Arizona too as we go into the weekend just ahead of Christmas. It'll get cooler too. Highs are falling into the low 60s here in Phoenix by Sunday.
For the latest headlines, weather, and traffic, head on over to ABC15.com or download the free ABC15 mobile app.
This ABC15 Flash Briefing is sponsored by Sanders & Ford. All roads lead to Sanders & Ford.